Hola, fifth grade. So today we have an I can statement. I can add fractions by finding a common denominator. And your essential question for today is how does finding common denominators help when adding fractions? Y'all ready? Let's get started. All right, guys, so we're going to get right into work. Um, I want to make sure that you guys know what's going on the board. I know I got a lot going on, so let me just walk you through what's going on. So today we're going to be adding fractions. This is a review lesson, of course, and we're working with 1/2 plus 3/4. 1/2 plus 3/4. That's what you see in this box over here. And so I want to introduce this by going over this particular equation as a multiple choice question. So right here you have A, B, and C. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough room for D, but trust me, keep watching, and you'll see D later on. All right. So 1/2 plus 3/4. How would you go about approaching this problem? How would you solve it? So if you've noticed on A, B, and C, I already have them solved, but I want you to go ahead and pause the video and write these down. All right, I want you to write these down on a sheet of paper. You're going to send it to me later with your exit ticket. I'll tell you more about that later. So go ahead and pause the video, write all of these down, and it's going to get your brain to working to where you can keep up with the lesson. All right. So my question for you is, if I presented this to you as a multiple choice question, which strategy would you use in order to solve 1/2 plus 3/4? So you can go ahead and pause the video again and answer that question. The question again is, if I presented you with a multiple choice question, how would you solve, or what strategy would you use, because I used 3 different strategies here, to solve 1/2 plus 3/4? All right. So if you chose A, okay, so let's see what we have here. This is 1/2 plus 3/4 equals 4/6 equals 2/3. So what it looks like here is what we did was we went ahead and we added straight across. Okay? So is that how you would have solved it? Did you choose A? Okay. We're going to move on to B. B is 1/2 plus 3/4 equals 4/8 plus 6/8. So it looks like here what we did was we used the butterfly method. Okay? You guys remember the butterfly method. You loved it so much. All right? Is it appropriate to use the butterfly method on this problem? Okay? So what we got was 4/8 plus 6/8. When we added 4/8 plus 6/8, we got 10/8, right? So 10/8 is a particular type of fraction, right? What type of fraction is it? Okay? That's right. It is improper. Okay? And so we don't really like improper fractions. So what we want to do is we'll convert an improper fraction into what type of fraction? That's right, a mixed number. Okay? And the way that we can do that is we can decompose it of the 1 that's inside of the improper fraction, or the whole number that's inside of the fraction. So here, because we have 10/8, we know that 8/8 is inside of 10/8. And 8/8 will give us 1, isolating the 1. And then we have 8/8 plus 2/8, or simplified as 1 plus 2/8. Further simplified as 1 1/4. Okay? So that's B. If you chose B, you chose to do the butterfly method as your strategy. All right, so let's look at C. All right? C is 1/2 plus 3/4 equals 4/4 times 1/2 plus 3/4 times 2 halves. So what's going on here? Okay, it looks like we said that, hey, we're going to take the denominator of the opposite fraction and we're going to multiply it to the denominator and the numerator of the other fraction. And that's how we got our numbers. So when you look here, after you multiply 4/4 plus 1/2, you get 4/8. Okay, when you multiply 3/4 times 2 halves, you get 6/8. Okay, when we add those together, we get 10/8 again, and we get 1/4. 1 and 1/4 again. So our answer here is 1 1/4. Would you have chosen this method in order to solve? Did you change anything after you've seen how we've worked through these? Go ahead and pause the video and put that in the comment section. I'd also like to ask you another question. Okay? There's a rule here that was used with C. Do you see the rule that was used here? Whatever I do to my denominator, I must also do to my numerator. All right, that's good. I think we got you guys remembering a lot now. Okay. So, which one of these were the correct answer? Okay. So for A, our final answer was, let's go over our answers, 2/3. For B, our final answer was 1 1/4. And for C, our final answer was 1 1/4. Well, I'd say that B and C are both correct. Okay? And remember that as a test taking strategy, that unless it specifically says choose one, sometimes it may say, and you have to read your instructions, that there's more than one answer. All right? So don't always assume that there's just one of these that's going to be correct. Always make sure you're looking for the instructions or the hints and the problems that let you know that, hey, this is a select all that apply or select all that are correct type of question. So now that we've done that, I'm going to show you how I would have done it. Make a little room right here. Well, I know that when I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I go with the least common denominator. All right? So I'm looking at my denominators first. I'm working with 1/2 and 3/4, a half and a fourth. Well, what about these stand out to you? Well, that's right. They're both even numbers. Okay? That's right. They're both multiples of 2. So if my goal right now is to get the same denominator, I could just do what? That's right. I could just multiply 1/2 by 2. And whatever I do to my numerator, I must also do to my denominator. That's correct. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. Okay. That's 2 halves times 1/2 plus 3/4. Okay. As we're solving this, you can do it with me. Okay. That's 2/4 plus 3/4. Okay. When we add these together, that's 5 fourths, right? Okay, so 5/4 is what? That's right, it's an improper fraction. So we're going to decompose that improper fraction of the ones, or the whole numbers, excuse me. All right, and so I want to make sure I have enough room over here, so I'm going to write it over here. So 5/4, that improper fraction could be decomposed as 4/4 plus 1/4, which equals 1 and 1/4. My answer is already simplified. I no longer have to simplify. Did you find a different way to do this problem? If so, make sure that you take a picture of that and send it to me also. Now, I want to go over why A did not work. And I know that for some of you guys, a visual works best. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so we were saying why A didn't work. So I cleared off the board of everything except our original problem, 1/2 plus 3/4. We want to represent that pictorially so we'll see why just adding straight across is not a possibility when you're trying to add fractions that don't have the same denominator. All right, and so what does 1/2 look like? Okay, I'm going to use a rectangular fraction model to represent 1/2. Okay, now I'm going to shade in 1/2 of that model. Okay, do you see that? Okay. And we're going to do the same for 3/4. We're going to represent 3/4 as a rectangular fraction model. Okay. I'm going to shade in 3/4 of this model. Make sure that you're doing this along with me on paper. It's going to help. So if you need to rewind and pause, go ahead and do what you need to do. But this really helps you if you don't get it, right? So I'm even going to add a little plus sign in between these models, just so you know what we're doing here. We're trying to add these together. Now, because we have eyes, we can see clearly that these are not the same. We can't just take something from 1/2 and just add it to 3/4 without representing those units in a like manner. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually merge these two together, so to speak. So the lines that I have over here for the 3/4, I'm going to add over here to the 1/2. So now the 1/2 represents what? 4/8. That's correct. Do you remember seeing 4/8 earlier? Okay. And for our 3/4, I'm just going to draw a line right down the middle representing 1/2. Okay, so instead of 3/4, what do we have now? That's right, we have 6/8. So I'm going to bring down our plus sign. Okay. Now we can add these together. Okay, which would give us a sum of what? That's right, 10/8. Now, are we done here? No, because 10/8 is what? Say it loud, an improper fraction. All right. And so, like I said earlier, we could decompose the 10/8 into 8/8, okay? Plus that remaining 2/8. That would be 1 plus 2/8. Now 2/8 can be simplified into 1/4, so that'll give us a sum of 1 and 1/4. That is our simplified answer. Now, I want you to go into the comment section, and I want you to make sure that you answer our essential question. All right? Our essential question was, how does finding common denominators help when adding fractions? Go ahead and add, what did you learn today? If there was anything special that you saw in the lesson today that helped you really think. If there was anything that you remember, add that to your comment too. But make sure that you answer that essential question. I also even challenge you to answer the question of, how does seeing a model help you know that your answer is reasonable? Is this reasonable? Can we connect these numbers back to the model? Right? And lastly, inside of the description of this video, I'm going to add your exit ticket, and I want you to answer that question also. All right? I want you to do it on paper. Do not put it in the comment section. Put it on paper and email it to the email that you see in the description section. As a last resort, if you can't email it, go ahead and put it in the comment section. Also, I want you to follow up with your KhanAcademy.com lesson on adding fractions. Thank you.